Hello!
Hi!
And a big welcome to all you NHS
and social care staff Wales. Croeso.
It's great to have you. We're big fans.
Loving your work.
Yeah, and your haircut is spectacular.
Yeah, very bold.
I don't know what you've done, but it's
working.
Yeah, so thank you. Anyway, we're here to tell you about storytelling and specifically how to tell a funny story.
Yeah, how to birth the story from here out.
Now, I can guess what you're probably thinking. You're thinking, well, I can't tell a story. What's it going to be about? A square? Now, creativity is a lot like going to the bathroom. Just sitting down on the toilet and hoping for the best doesn't really mean anything is going to happen. So with creativity, I want you to relax and take your time and really find a way to make it fun and enjoyable.
Yeah. Leaving the bathroom thing to one side, the main thing to remember is that it doesn't have to be good. It doesn't have to be for anyone. Take the pressure off. It can just be for you, and you don't even have to tell anyone you've done it. It's like giving yourself a little coach.
Now, how you tell your story is completely up to you. You might want to write it down in a notebook, or you could speak it out loud and record it on your mobile phone.
Yeah, you could scrapbook it. You could, film it and become a YouTube sensation. You could try it on Twitter and challenge yourself with the limitation of the characters.
But you don't have to. You could just whisper it to your cat in the bath. Now, where do we start telling our story? Well, we all know how to tell a knock-knock joke.
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Simon.
Simon who?
Oh, go away, Simon. We've had enough of your guff.
Or knock, knock.
Who's there?
You get the idea. Structure is very important.
Yeah, basically, having a structure that we're already familiar with does half the work for us, right? Okay, so knock-knock jokes. We've got them, they're safe, they're not going anywhere, but you might be sick of them. Fair dues, they've been around a while. But what if I told you there was a brand new joke structure in town? Oh yeah, this is something you can try at work, down the pub, with your friends, with your family. It's a great one. It's called I've Got a New Job.
I've got a new job.
What is it?
Setting off fireworks.
How's business?
Booming.
I've got a new job.
What's your job?
I am a canine cannibal.
How's business?
It's dog eat dog.
Now, once you have your structure in place, there's a really easy and fun way to fill your story with ideas. It's a game called Stick or Twist.
Yeah, so what you need is just 3 piles of paper. Oh, easy. And on the first pile of paper, you're going to put just any location, any setting for your story that you can possibly think of. As many bits of paper as you possibly can. Try not to censor yourself at this stage, which can sometimes be hard to do. So, we have, for example, the moon, a dark alley, Bargoid. Your next pile is where you're going to put possible characters, right? For example, we've got a fox, a superhero, a child, a square, a straight white man. Enough stories about them. And on your final pile, that's when you're going to put things, stuff that could be in your story. For example, a banana, a bridge, fireworks, emergency rations. I can't read this one upside down.
Once you have your 3 piles of paper in place, the next thing to do is give them all a very good shuffle. Now, while that's going on, what's going to happen is we're going to pick at random 1 piece of paper from each pile, and these are going to be the components of our story. So, the first component is our story location. Drum roll. The moon! Now, the moon is an excellent story location. You do have the option to stick or twist on any one of these choices you make. I want to stick with the moon.
Okay.
Great. What's on our green choice?
Let's see who our character's going to be. It's a fox.
A fox! A fox on the moon. I mean, theoretically, that's impossible, but in stories, anything can happen.
Yeah, and it's intriguing.
It is intriguing, isn't it? A fox on the moon. Okay, let's stick with a fox.
Okay.
Blue.
Okay, so our object in our story, or the stuff, is going to be a tiny hammock.
A tiny hammock. Well, this story is writing itself. A fox with a tiny hammock on the moon. Now, you do have the option to stick or twist. I wonder what happens if we twist on a tiny hammock.
Okay, we get emergency rations. Ooh.
So, a fox on the moon with emergency rations.
And emergency rations implies, there's some peril there.
Yeah, because in its emergency.
Yeah, exactly. So that gives us some stakes. I like it.
Fantastic. Let's see what would happen with that story.
The next thing to do is ask as many questions as you can and try to come up with some answers. For example, how did the fox get to the moon? What's inside the emergency rations? What constitutes a vulpine emergency? Why does the fox not have shoes? Is the fox running away from something, or do all foxes come from the moon? It's just a big secret that the government keeps hushed up. Remember to write down all the ideas that you like.
Okay, do you know what we've got to do next?
No, what?
We need to name our fox.
Now, character names can be really fun. If you're feeling like you don't know where to start, you can always do what they did in the board game Cluedo, where they took an honorific and then a colour, and you end up with characters called Colonel Mustard, or Miss Scarlet, or Professor Plum.
Rabbi Rainbow.
I don't think that was one of them. Or you could just take a first name, and then for a surname, just pick the first thing you see, like Jack Catflap,
Kevin Plug.
Susan Dissonance.
Yeah, and eventually you'll land on a name that you like, that makes you happy. You don't need to interrogate why that is. It will just make you happy. And that'll actually inform a lot about your character.
Now, once you've chosen your character's name, you might find it useful also to give your character a restriction of some kind, like a quirk. Maybe your character can't talk. Maybe your character can only move diagonally.
Yeah, or exclusively dresses head to toe in green, or only ever eats soup.
Now, this might sound strange, but you'll find that giving your character a restriction or a quirk might actually help your story along. So, we have our story structure, we have 3 elements of the story, and we have a character name and possibly a restriction too for that character. Now we've got all these ingredients, what are we going to do with them?
We are going to do something called a composition. This is a really great way to get the first version of your story out. Essentially, a composition is a recipe or a kind of shopping list for your first draft. So you will give it a title. You will give it 3 parts, and that could be as simple as beginning, middle and end. But also, if you wanted to, you could title your 3 parts. So instead of beginning, it could be called setting off. The second part could be called arriving, and the third part could be called the surprise. It's entirely up to you. Then you will have your ingredients. So these are the things that you have to include in your first version of your story. So for us, we know that at least 3 of those things will be a fox, emergency rations, and the moon. They've got to be in there. And then you can have some optional extras. So they could be other things that you quite liked from Stick or Twist, or just new things that you think of. Then you can also put your restrictions in there. And then you just go, have fun with your first version of the story. It gets it out, it makes it real, and it starts you on your journey of finding what your story is. When you've finished your composition, you can do a new one for your second version, or you can abandon the restrictions of the composition altogether because it will have given you enough of a clue on where to go with your story next. But it's out there and it's yours. And it's wonderful.
Well, what more is there to say? Remember, how you tell your story is up to you. And art is always at its best when it's a genuine expression of who you are.
And remember, there's no pressure. It's just for you. Just have a go. You might enjoy yourself, and maybe, just maybe, it'll make your brain happy.
Okay, that's all from us. Thank you for all the incredible work you do.
Thank you.
Bye. We love you. Stop it there, probably.